terraforming is easy. Well, for some people. Not me though. See, most people make it look really simple, and at a certain point I'm sure it is. But after watching some videos, last year I decided to dive in headfirst with this massive mountain. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm super proud of this mountain. I designed it all by hand, and even though it took ages, I think it looks great. But it could use some more detail, and don't even get me started on the back. So I decided to practice putting more detail into my terraforming on a smaller scale, starting with this riverbed, and then eventually with this hill. So now I think I'm ready to do a larger project with this level of detail. And lucky for you guys, I know just the place.
And that leads me to this little section of the world. You see, pretty much everything else in this area has been filled up, whether it's with farmlands or forests or different parts of the city, but every time my eye settles on this area, it's kind of a big eyesore. So, today, the game plan is to totally tear this out, flatten it, and then use all these materials I gathered to do some new types of terraforming and kind of bridge the worlds from the mountain to the little riverbanks. So I'm going to go ahead and set up a beacon, and I think we can go ahead and get started clearing this area out before we really bring it to life. And with the help of the beacon, this went a good bit faster than I expected. Now, it looks pretty messy because all of this is going to get covered up. But we do still have to push this back a little bit. It looks kind of bad with the pathway being this jagged. And yeah, we're going to clean all that up. But I want to show you guys just how much we mined out there. So that was a fair bit of destroying. But now I'd like to go ahead and start another time lapse and start building up the terraforming. So for this new terraforming project, I wanted to design a cliff, but I really wanted to focus on the shadows and the highlights of it, kind of really get that contrast. Now, to accomplish that, I knew that I had to make the darker spots more shadowy using a lot of darker black and gray blocks. So I started with black stone in the middle at the darkest points, and then I had that kind of radiate out into a combination of basalt, cobbled deep slate, and pale oak. And I think it turned out pretty well, especially when you fly from far away. It all kind of blends and creates this shadowy effect. After that, to contrast the shadows and show where the light might be hitting the rocks a little more, I added in a mixture of tuff, pale moss, stone, and a few bits of coal ore sprinkled in here and there. Now, this part was a little trickier for me because I had a hard time finding the best method of placing all these blocks. Sometimes it was easier to use scaffolding, sometimes it was easier to go from above, or sometimes I could reach them from all the way down below. Regardless though, I'm pretty happy with how it turned out, and it was time to move on to the final step of the rock. The final chunk of the mountain consisted of a little more acacia wood, some stone, light gray wool to really accent where the light hits, and then on top we had some moss. Now, the moss is going to be where either some of the city builds or the wall is going to sit. That's right, the city that you guys can see in the background of some of these clips is going to expand all the way out here, but that's a problem for future Viper. As of now though, I did take some time finishing up the moss on top and then bringing in a pathway for the city, paving the way for the future expansion. But just because the cliff was done, didn't mean that I was done working on this project. I started by clearing a big old dirt mountain across the lake, and then cleared out some more room for what will be water and the lake a little bit later on in the video. After that, I came through and added in some paths and some foliage, as I want this to kind of feel like a national park of sorts, something that feels very preserved, and when you walk around the rock and the nature, you just kind of feel immersed in the world around you. After the paths and the foliage were in place, I went ahead and added in a retaining wall and then textured it a fair bit. This is going to hold back the water and also make sure that the water levels are nice and even. And I didn't record this, but I did end up adding in another little rock across from this pathway just to make up for the change of elevation and hide it a little bit easier. And with all that done, it was time to finally add in the water and fill in the rest of this lake. Now let's go see how it turned out. And here it is, the finished terraforming. And you guys, well, ignore the shulker mess. We'll go over that in a second, but whew, I'm so happy with this. This turned out really well, and yes, there are probably some things I would do differently in the future, but when I had this in my mind, you know, I had this vision of what I wanted this to look like. This is pretty similar to the vision in my mind, and honestly, I think the best part was just doing some of this like gradient or shading. That's, I guess, kind of texturing gradients, but the shading. Because, I mean, as I've probably said a bunch so far in this video, right, the darkest points, the most shadowy points are the blackstone. They kind of radiate out with the basalt and the deep slate and then the pale oak. And it's just a lot of blocks. It's something I'm not really used to, but I've wanted to do for a while. And when we go into, you know, free cam and kind of look at it from afar, it becomes less blocky than it is up close. And, it looks more like this beautiful gradient if you can look past the beacon. But yeah, it looks, like a rock, like rocks do in real life. I'm just so happy with how this turned out. I think the pathway here, and I'm glad I didn't put the wall. I like toyed around with the idea of having the wall right here. But I'm glad that I added in some nature. I think I mentioned it, but I do want this to feel kind of like, I guess the national park's not really the best example, because like this is pretty small, but maybe some sort of like small nature-y park that they're preserving. So it's supposed to feel like a walk through nature, right? We have some flowers, some different foliage in here, and then you can kind of admire the rocks and the patterns and whatnot. And then around the corner here, I do have plans to eventually, I think it'd be cool to add like a bar or something here, or like a little restaurant like inside the boulder, which we can definitely do. Like, look, there's all this space, so I think it'd be cool to do maybe like a fully automatic like potion machine or something. So like anytime I need potions, which is not often, but anytime I need potions, I could just come here. And I do have plans to connect up this pathway to the rest of the city, but as you guys can tell, the rest of the city doesn't exist yet. And same thing here. I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do, but the rock just kind of ends. This will connect up at some point. So for now, it's going to be a little janky, I suppose. But that's fine, because there's not a lot to see right in that area. But yeah, I'll show you guys from over here at this angle. It looks pretty cool. Again, going into the idea of like a national park or something. I want to make this like waterfall and big cave more of a feature and like something you can go down and see. Maybe even put like a bridge here. So it looks pretty cool though. Like, I'm happy with how this rock formation turned out. I mean, obviously I didn't put as much time and effort into it, so maybe like Later we'll go texture it more, but I just needed something for the pathway. And speaking of something for the pathway, I originally thought about putting like rocks all the way around here, but I think I'm really happy that we went with this retaining wall, because if I go, back down here, we look at this, it's very cool. It's very textured, and you can see that more from this side. Honestly, you're not going to see it too much, but it's different. I didn't just want to do these similar, like, kind of boring gray walls. Don't get me wrong, I love those. Those are, super fun to build, and honestly, I built so many, like, retaining walls in this world. I think I have a problem, but I think that this wall is probably my favorite one that I've done so far, and it makes sense, too. It's, if we had rocks here, some of the water would get through, and obviously the path kind of goes up and down and bobs and weaves and stuff, so we needed to make sure that the water wasn't going up and down, right? This needed to stay at the same level. It wouldn't make sense if it was like higher and lower, and that would just be a mess. You guys know how much of a pain water can be in Minecraft, so this wall was the best option. Oh, speaking of water, but the wall was the best option, and I'm really, really happy with how it turned out, as I say that for like the 100th time. The only thing I'm not like super thrilled with is this little area here, but if you guys remember before, this was like dirt and just looked really bad and didn't blend, and there was like a big gap here between the wall and the rock. So this, I don't know, this kind of looks better. I think maybe I could spend some more time with it, but time is something I'm kind of running out for this video, because I have something really exciting planned for next episode, but I have to do it in like a certain number of days. It's a whole big thing. Yeah, so we're gonna cut this short here with this one, but I did want to show you this shulker monster is insane. I think I counted. I think there's like 20 shulker boxes. I think 22, and then I have a full inventory, so it's like 23 shulkers for this project. Yeah, pretty crazy. This is definitely one of the bigger projects I've tackled, and go figure, I kind of underestimated it. I figured it would be really easy, but no, it wasn't. But now that we have this part done, I want to take a little bit of time and just add in a couple more fields to my world. I think that fields are one of the best way to make a world feel alive, and I just need a break from terraforming. I think planting some fields is really therapeutic, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So let's go ahead and plant some crops. Oh man, that was fun. I mentioned in the last clip that I was running out of time, and then I got a little carried away. I built 9 fields when I was only going to build 3, but you know what? It's okay. It was really fun. Honestly, I needed that. I've been feeling a little under the weather, and I don't know. This just really got me back into the Minecraft mood, the Minecraft spirit, after taking a little time off over the holidays. But as you guys can see, we have mostly grown fields at this point, and there are 9 of them. We have right in front of me 2 wheat fields, and then a pitcher pod field, which is some of my favorite, although looks a little goofy on the map. They don't show up for some reason, so that's interesting. But We continue on over here. We have some potatoes. Then on this side, we have some carrots. And then way in the back there, we have a lilac field. I think it's fun to incorporate flowers and other plants into our crop fields because, well, yeah, I guess it makes sense. You know, somebody has to grow not only food for the people, but flowers to sell at shops and decorate homes and whatnot, or maybe even like something like the pitcher plant might be used in like herbal remedies and whatnot. So, you know, there can be lure behind all of these different plants and all these different field types. Plus, it just looks a lot cooler than having, you know, crops everywhere. That's why we added in some flowers over in the farmlands. Before I show off the last few fields, I have no idea where this guy came from. Like, genuinely, way over there, like just out of render distance, is what I call the Copper Orchard. That's this little village here. And I guess there is almost a path the whole way. Oh, which speaking of, I added some more paths. But I'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, that's the only place I've ever put copper golems. But they don't wander. I have a bunch of chests and they go between. I've never seen them within like a 10-block radius of their little village. And then I came over here, which I'm like, never over here. And this dude's here. So let me know down in the comments what you think we should do with this guy. I'd like to name tag him and keep him in this area. But yeah, until then, he's just going to hang out. Maybe he'll be one of the farmers in this area. But getting to our last few fields, we have a wheat field, a torch flower field, which makes a really cool color apparently, or at least while they're growing up. That's cool. And then if we go around here, we have a beetroot field. So we're going to get a nice pop of red out here. And apparently a lot of sunflowers. So maybe the next field we do will have to be a sunflower field. I don't necessarily have a set plan for this area yet, but I've been wanting more space, more open plains to build some crop fields and some farmhouses and whatnot. So I don't know that this is going to be like a big city location here, but I think it would be cool to have little villages dotted around. So maybe this will be one of those villages, one of the little stopping points in the world to make it feel more alive. I do have some big plans for builds and cities along this pathway though, so it will be nice to have some points of interest along the way to those other notable places. So who knows, maybe our little golem friend will have a new village over here to call home after all. But with that, you guys, I think I'm going to have to call it quits today. I appreciate you hanging with me here while I was feeling a little under the weather. This was still, regardless though, a pretty fun video to make, even though maybe it was a little more unorthodox, at least in the editing and recording for me. But still very fun, very productive, lots of terraforming, lots of new crop fields, and yeah, honestly, most importantly, I'm just really excited to be playing on this world again. So thank you so very much for watching, and I will see you soon.